Oh, dude, water is so fucking good. Especially here when it's got all the harmful, the lead and the lithium that makes you go strong. So good. Oh man, look at him.
Bad dreams, huh?
It just must have been something I ate.
Drank more like, as in the tainted blood, remember? You see, part of being a Grey Warden is being able to hear the Darkspawn. That's what your dream was, hearing them. The Archdemon, it talks to the Horde, and we feel it just as they do. That's why we know this is really a blight.
Is the Archdemon, is that the dragon?
I don't know if it's really a dragon, but it sure looks like one. But yes, that's the Archdemon. It takes a bit, but eventually you can block the dreams out. Some of the older Grey Wardens say they can understand the Archdemon a bit, but I sure can't. Anyhow, when I heard you thrashing around, I thought I should tell you. It was scary at first for me, too.
I appreciate you talking to me about it, Alistair. Thank you.
That's what I'm here for. To deliver unpleasant news and witty one-liners. Anyhow, you're up now, right? Let's pull up camp and get a move on. What do you need?
Did you want to talk about Duncan?
You don't have to do that. I know you didn't know him as long as I did.
I just thought that you might need to talk.
I should have handled it better. Duncan warned me right from the beginning that this could happen. Any of us could die in battle. I shouldn't have lost it, not when so much is riding on us, not with the blight and everything. I'm sorry.
There's no need to apologize, Alistair.
I'd like to have a proper funeral for him. Maybe once this is all done, if we're still alive. I don't think he had any family to speak of.
He had you.
I suppose he did. It probably sounds stupid, but part of me wishes I was with him, in the battle. I feel like I abandoned him.
I completely understand.
Of course. I'd be dead then, wouldn't I? It's not like that would make him happier. I think he came from High Ever, or so he said. Maybe I'll go up there sometime. See about putting up something in his honor. I don't know. Have you had someone close to you die? Not that I mean to pry, I'm just...
I haven't really known anyone since I went to the tower.
That must have felt a lot like when I got sent to the Chantry. You mages don't even get a say in the matter after all.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Really, I mean it. It was good to talk about it, at least a little.
Maybe when you go to Highever, I'll go with you.
I'd like that. So would he, I think.
Tell me about the Grey Wardens, please.
Such as they are.
Where are the nearest ones from here? I mean, most of them, I assume, were at Ostagar when... You know.
That's a good question. There's plenty in Orlais, but who knows where they might be found. And the nearest Orlesian city is weeks away. If we go north and cross the sea, there's bound to be some in the Free Marches. Again, however, I just don't know where. I don't know anything about Grey Wardens in other lands.
Is there a headquarters somewhere? We talk to a manager or something? Do they have like multi-level, like, can we talk to the CEO of the Grey Wardens?
Here in Ferelden, there's our compound in Denerim at the palace, but that's it. Loghain will have control over that and be watching it, no doubt.
Yeah.
Beyond that, the only place I know of is Weishaupt Fortress. That's the headquarters of all Grey Wardens in the Anderfells, 1,000 miles from here. But I've no idea how to even contact them. So unless we try to get back to the compound in Denerim, I suppose the answer is no. There's nowhere for us to go.
Damn. So what happens now if there's just the two of us?
I imagine that eventually the Grey Wardens outside of Ferelden will wonder what's happened. Why there's no contact from Duncan or someone. They'll send someone eventually. Though who knows what Logain's people in Denerim will tell them. Maybe they won't send anyone. We could try to contact them. But that would mean leaving Ferelden, and even if we did, they couldn't come back with us in time to stop the Blight. So that means whatever happens, it's up to us.
We need to start rebuilding it, or is that not going to be on us?
I mean, eventually we would have to use the joining to make more Grey Wardens, right? But I don't know how to do the joining, or what's involved. I know it involves lyrium and some other magic, and that it's really difficult to prepare, but that's it. Unless we can find out more about the joining, I guess we better get used to the idea that there might only be two of us for now. Until more come from elsewhere.
Well, what happened if we just left?
Just left? You mean just left Ferelden? I don't know. If there's an archdemon, however, we're supposed to be the only ones who can defeat it. And that means the Blight would grow unchecked. Eventually, other Grey Wardens in Orlais and other lands would hear about it, and they would come to fight it, but they wouldn't come in time to save Ferelden. There's no way. I'm not going anywhere.
So you said this Arl Eamon we're going to see, he raised you?
Oh, did I say that? I meant that dogs raised me. Giant slobbering dogs from the Anderfells. A whole pack of them, in fact.
That would explain the smell.
Well, it wasn't until I was 8 that I discovered you didn't have to lick yourself clean.
Oh.
Old habits die hard, you know.
So does a horde of Darkspawn, I'm told.
Point taken. Let's see, how do I explain this? I'm a bastard. And before you make any smart comments, I mean the fatherless kind. My mother was a serving girl in Redcliffe Castle who died when I was very young. Arl Eamon wasn't my father, but he took me in anyhow and put a roof over my head. He was good to me, and he didn't have to be. I respect the man, and I don't blame him anymore for sending me off to the Chantry once I was old enough.
Why did he send you off to the Chantry?
Arl Eamon eventually married a young woman from Orlais, which caused all sorts of problems between him and the king because it was so soon after the war. But he loved her. Anyhow, the new Arlessa resented the rumors which pegged me as his bastard. They weren't true, but of course they existed. The Arl didn't care, but she did. So off I was packed to the nearest monastery at age 10. Just as well. The Arlessa made sure the castle wasn't a home to me by that point. She despised me.
You were probably luckier than most orphans.
I suppose you're right. I wasn't raised as the Arl's son, though, if you're picturing that. I slept in hay, out in the stables, not on silk sheets. I remember I had an amulet with Andraste's holy symbol on it. The only thing I had of my mother's. I was so furious at being sent away, I tore it off and threw it at the wall, and it shattered. Stupid, stupid thing to do. The Arl came by the monastery a few times to see how I was, but I was stubborn. I hated it there, and blamed him for everything. And eventually, he just stopped coming.
You were young. You can't blame you for that.
And raised by dogs. Or I may as well have been, the way I acted. But maybe all young bastards act like that. I don't know. All I know is that the Arl is a good man, and well loved by the people. He also was King Caelan's uncle, so he has a personal motivation to see Logain pay for what he did. Anyway, that's really all there is to the story.
Why have you remained a Templar if you hate the Chantry?
Have you seen the uniform? It's not only stylish, but well made. I'm a sucker for good tailoring.
I thought Templars mostly wear heavy plate.
That's just in public. In private, we have these yellow and purple tunics, right? Much more comfortable, and you don't break the beds when you jump on them during a pillow fight.
You had lots of pillow fights, I take it.
Pillow fights? I mean, no, of course not. I meant sword fights. With rusty swords, dripping with acid. The kind that puts hair on your chest. You don't really want to know about my being a Templar, do you? It's really quite boring.
I do really want to know, yeah.
Poke, poke, poke. Tell me everything about your life, Alistair. All right, if you insist. It's not like we have anything better to do, right? The truth of the matter is that I did hate going to the monastery. The initiates from poor families thought I put on airs, while the noble ones called me a bastard and ignored me. I felt like Al Eamon had cast me off, unwanted, and I was determined to be bitter. But I took some solace in the training itself, I guess. I was actually quite good at it.
What did you enjoy about it?
The education, mostly, but also the discipline. You need to have a disciplined mind in order to use the abilities we have. It was difficult, but rewarding. I never really felt at home anywhere, though, until I joined the Grey Wardens. And Duncan felt my Templar abilities might be useful for when we encountered Darkspawn magic, so I kept it up. What about you? Do you have anywhere you consider home?
Home is wherever camp is. I'm just a traveler now, I guess.
We won't always be traveling like this, you know. Once the war is over, once the Blight is... well, a time will come when we'll have to think about having a real home again. Though that seems like a far ways off. And I suppose the Grey Wardens are gone for good. Either way.
They can be rebuilt.
I suppose you're right. We can create new Grey Wardens, but we'll never get back those we lost. I wonder if it would ever feel the same. Anyhow, now I've sidetracked us. We'd better get back to what we're supposed to be doing right now.
So, how did you become a Grey Warden?
Same way you did. You drink some blood, you choke on it, and pass out. You haven't forgotten already, have you?
Yeah. Very funny.
I do my best. What can I say? Let's see, I was in the Chantry before. I trained for many years to become a Templar, in fact. That's where I learned most of my skills.
You don't seem like the religious sort.
You're telling me I was banished to the kitchens to scour the pots more times than I can count. And that's a lot. I can count pretty high. The Grand Cleric didn't want to let me go. Duncan was forced to conscript me, actually, and was she ever furious when he did. I thought she was going to have us both arrested. I was lucky.
Why did the Grand Cleric want to keep you?
I wondered that myself. It's not as if she valued me highly. I think she just didn't want to give anything to the Grey Wardens, is all. The Chantry didn't lose much. And I think I can do more fighting the Blight anyhow, rather than sitting in a temple somewhere. I'll always be thankful to Duncan for recruiting me. If it hadn't been for him, you know, I wouldn't have...
He was a good man. Very good man.
He was. A good man who didn't deserve his fate. That much I'm sure of. Come on, let's go. I think I'm done talking.
So what kind of Templar do, exactly?
Essentially, they're trained to fight. The Chantry would tell you that the Templars exist simply to defend. But don't let them fool you. They're an army. The other main purpose for a Templar is, of course, to hunt mages. To that end, we train in talents that drain mana and disrupt spells.
Seems like Templars could run the Chantry.
You'd think that. But it's not so. The Chantry keeps a close rein on its Templars. We are given lyrium to help develop our magical talents, you see. Which means we become addicted. And since the Chantry controls the lyrium trade with the dwarves... well, I'm sure you can put two and two together.
So you were addicted to lyrium?
Thankfully, no. You only start receiving lyrium once you've taken your vows. You don't need lyrium in order to learn the Templar talents. Lyrium just makes Templars' talents more effective. Or so I was told. Maybe it doesn't even do that. The Chantry usually doesn't let their Templars get away, either, so they can spread their secrets. I'm a bit of an exception. Lucky me.
So this vision that you had, you care to explain a bit?
I knew this would come up sooner or later. I don't know how to explain, but I had a dream. In it, there was an impenetrable darkness. It was so dense, so real. And there was a noise, a terrible, ungodly noise. I stood on a peak and watched as the darkness consumed everything. And when the storm swallowed the last of the sun's light, I fell, and the darkness drew me in.
You dreamed of the Blight?
I suppose I did. That was what the darkness was, no? When I woke, I went to the Chantry's gardens, as I always do. But that day, the rosebush in the corner had flowered. Everyone knew that bush was dead. It was grey and twisted and gnarled, the ugliest thing you ever saw. But there it was, a single beautiful rose. It was as though the Maker stretched out his hand to say, even in the midst of this darkness, there is hope and beauty. Have faith.
And this made you want to help me?
In my dream, I fell, or maybe I jumped. I'd do anything to stop the Blight. I know that we can do it. There are so many good things in the Maker's world. How can I sit by while the Blight devours everything?
I suppose I couldn't sit by either.
That is why you're a Grey Warden. Come, there's a Blight to stop.
So what would someone like you be doing in the Elder Rings Chantry?
What is meant by someone like me?
You just don't seem to belong in a cloister.
Did you think I was always a cloistered sister? The Chantry provides succor and safe harbor to all who seek it. I chose to stay and become affirmed.
Affirmed?
We affirm our belief in the Maker, in Andraste and the chant, but other than that, there are no vows taken.
What did you do before that?
I was a traveling minstrel in Orlais. Tales and songs were my life. I performed, and they rewarded me with applause and coin. And my skill in battle? Well, you pick up different skills when you travel, yes? Yes, of course. Let's move on.
So what was life like in the Chantry Cloister?
Quiet. It was a life suited for contemplation. In the cloister, away from the fuss and the flurry of the cities, I found peace. And in that stillness, I could hear the Maker. But it was not perfect. Some of my Chantry fellows were condescending. That is the nature of religious folk, I suppose.
Yeah, it's why I'm not too particularly fond of them.
When I talked about my beliefs, that the Maker reveals himself in the beauty of his world, they treated me with disdain. They want to believe that he's gone, so that when he turns his gaze on them, it means they are special, chosen. He cannot possibly have love for all, the sick and the weary, the beggars and the fools.
What did you say to them?
What can I say to them? What they believe is what the Chantry says, and the Chantry is infallible, yes? Maybe I am wrong. But it is the Maker's place to decide if I am worthy, not men, not the Chantry. But there is work to be done, and I have talked enough for now.
Why are we stopping?
We're working together. I think I should get to know you.
There are darkspawn to be fought. Is this delay needful?
Are you okay? You were in that cage for weeks.
You are concerned. No need. I am fit enough to fight.
I've never seen a Quinari before. Can you tell me about your people?
No.
Why not?
People are not simple. They cannot be summarized for easy reference in the manner of... The elves are a lithe, pointy-eared people who excel at poverty.
I mean, you just did. You can. You said you were in the army.
I am.
What made you decide to become a soldier?
Decide. I am a Sten of the Beresad. I did not choose to be who I am any more than you did.
Okay, why would the Quinari send soldiers here?
The Antam are the eyes, hands, and mouth of the Qunari. We are how my people know the world.
Doesn't that make your view of things a little skewed?
Compared to what?
A good question.
What does anyone truly know of the world? The world changes. We change. The Antam observe what we can, just as you do. There is no point to this. We are keeping the Darkspawn waiting.
What's your hurry?
What a strange language you speak. You say hurry, where I would say duty.
It's not your duty to handle the blight, though.
No, it is yours, and you are chatting with me instead.
What were you doing in that cage?
Sitting, as you observed.
You were standing, but, it's not what I meant.
It's what you asked.
Just tell me.
I did. Parshera, was there anything else?
Why did you come to Ferelden?
To answer a question.
What was the question?
The Arishok asked what is the Blight. By his curiosity, I am now here.
Don't you have to report back, then?
Yes.
So, when are you gonna do that?
Never.
Oh,
I cannot go home.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Can we move on? We keep the Darkspawn waiting.
Let's go.
As you wish.
Did you grow up in the Kokori Wilds?
Why do you ask me such questions? I do not probe you for pointless information, do I?
I am curious. That I don't see anything wrong with that.
Any number of cats could inform you of the answer to that question, but have it your way. What is it you asked if I grew up in the wilds? A curious question. Where else would you picture me? For many years it was simply Flemeth and I. The wilds and its creatures were more real to me than Flemeth's tales of the world of man. In time I grew curious. I left the wilds to explore what lay beyond, never for long. Brief forays into a civilized wilderness.
But you kept going back to the wilds?
Would you not do the same? Your world is an unforgiving and cold place. The wilds I hail from is home to me, and I a natural denizen. For all that I had been taught, however, the truth of the civilized lands proved to be overwhelming. I was unfamiliar with so much. So confident and bold was I, yet there was much that Flemeth could never have prepared me for.
It's very daring, that sounds like you.
Equal parts daring and foolhardy, perhaps. Only once was I accused of being a witch of the wilds, and that by a chastened who happened to be traveling with a merchant caravan. He pointed and gasped, and began shouting in his strange language, and most assumed he was casting some curse upon me. I acted the terrified girl, and naturally, he was arrested.
That was quick thinking.
Men are always willing to believe two things about a woman. One, that she is weak, and two, that she finds him attractive. I played the weakling and battered my eyelashes at the captain of the guard. Child's play. The point being that I was able to move through human lands fairly easily. Whatever humans think a witch of the wild looks like, 'tis not I. Not that I did not have trouble. There are things about human society which have always puzzled me, such as the touching. Why all the touching for a simple greeting?
Like a handshake?
To begin with, yes. What is the point of touching my hand? I find it an offensive intrusion. There were many nuances that Flemeth could never tell me of. When to look into another's eyes. How to eat at a table. How to bargain without offending. None of these things I knew. I still do not understand it all, truth be told, but then I gave up long ago any hope of doing so. When I returned to the wilds last, I swore to Flemeth that I had no intention of leaving again.
Well, I'm glad it worked out this way, at least.
Yes? Let's ignore the entire Darkspawn threat and the presence of a simpleton as your only other Grey Warden ally, then. Not that I lack appreciation for the intent of your comment. Thank you. Well, let's get on with it before the ground opens up and swallows us, yes?
You ever been hunted by the Chantry?
You are very cute to ask so many questions.
And you're cute when you're evasive.
Really? Perhaps we should be wrapped in ribbons and adorned with flowers. So cute are we, too. My mother has been hunted from time to time, yes, by Templar fools like Alistair, which should tell you how successful they generally were. Flemeth made a bit of a game of it, in fact. The Templars would come again, and she would look at me and smile and say that the fun was to begin once more.
You really had no trouble with them.
I am unsure. I was too young to understand, and perhaps 'twas bravado on Flemeth's part, or perhaps she was merely amused. I will never know. Flemeth would warn them once. 'Twas a warning they inevitably failed to heed. And then the true game began. Often Flemeth would use me as bait, a little girl to scream and run and lure the Templars deeper into the wilds and to their doom.
Flemeth used you as bait?
'Twas a game, and I a young girl. If I didn't get to play, I would have been very upset. Thankfully, the wilds is a vast place. Once they found us, Flemeth would simply move us elsewhere, and we would be lost within the forest once again. I did not understand the danger we faced until I was much older. I had never heard of apostates or maleficarum.
Actually, they got what they deserved.
Perhaps they did. Still, I do not begrudge them doing what they believe is necessary. The Chantry sees any mages not leashed to the Circle of Magi as apostates, and apostates could become maleficarum, evil mages that resort to blood magic and become demon-enslaved abominations. It may even be true. Still, those of us who prefer freedom see no reason to submit.
I agree completely.
An interesting answer for a mage. Enough of this talk. Let us return to the task at hand.
Is Flemeth really what she seems to be?
Well, that depends, does it not? What does she seem to be?
Human.
Oh, she certainly was human. Once. Tell me, how much do you know of the tale? The one that the chastened still tell of my mother, to frighten them into obedience.
I didn't even know that there was such a thing.
Ah, I see. That does explain much. I can relay what Flemeth once told me herself, and you can decide whether or not 'tis the truth, if you desire.
That sounds interesting.
As the tale is sung by the bards, there was a time when Flemeth was young and beautiful, a fair lass in a land of barbarian men, the desire of any who saw her.
Just how long ago is this?
Many centuries, before this land was even named Ferelden. The tales say that Flemeth fell in love with Osen the bard, and fled the castle of her husband, the dread Lord Conobar, and that he swore vengeance for her infidelity. In truth, my mother claims that 'twas Osen who was her husband, and Conobar the jealous lord who looked on from afar. Lord Conobar approached young Osen and offered him wealth and power in exchange for his lovely wife, and Osen agreed.
He sold his wife to another man?
The life of a bard is a poor one, and love fades in the wake of hunger. 'Twas Flemeth who suggested the arrangement. All would have been well had Lord Conobar kept his end of the bargain. But he was a foul man who bargained with coin he did not possess. Osen was led off to a field and slain, left for dead. Flemeth spoke to the spirits and learned of the deed, and swore revenge.
She spoke to spirits or demons?
Spirits first, and 'twas they who slew Conobar. Flemeth did not turn to the demon until much later. Lord Conobar's allies chased Flemeth, you see, chased her to the wilds, and there she hid. There she found the demon, and he made her strong. The legends all speak of the great hero Cormac, he who defeated Flemeth and her great army when she invaded the lowlands centuries later. All lies.
Which part? She never invaded, or he never defeated her?
The truth of the matter is that there was never an invasion, As Flemeth tells it, the Chastened never raised an army under her banner, and she never fought with any warrior named Cormac. Cormac led a brutal civil war against his own people, and later claimed it was to vanquish evil that had taken root amongst the lords. Thus, he was hailed a hero. Flemeth was only attached to the legend much later. Perhaps 'twas due to the great war with the Chastened that eventually came, but Mother claims not to know how it began.
How is it that she survived for so long? That's hundreds of years ago.
The demon within her has transformed her into something else. An abomination, perhaps some would say. I know not. I only know my mother is clever, and she is part of the wilds as it is part of her. But she is no immortal. She bleeds. A blade in her heart would kill her like any other, were it lucky enough to find her.
I know one part of the legend, and that's she has many daughters.
You ask if I have sisters. I have asked of this myself. The stories tell of many witches of the wilds, after all, not just the one. And these tales existed long before I did. Flemeth refuses to speak of other daughters, if they existed. So, should I believe I am her first? I doubt that too.
Why would she refuse to speak of them?
The Chastened tell of a falling out between Flemeth and her daughters. They say that one day she hunted them all through the wilds and ate their hearts. It may be true. I have never seen another witch or heard of one. Perhaps one day Flemeth will eat my heart as well.
Well, let's hope not. That's an interesting story. Thank you.
Flemeth tells it with far more embellishment than I, but you are welcome. Dare I ask of your own mother? Few are abominations of legend, 'tis true, but I find myself curious nevertheless.
There really is nothing to say about her.
I see. I find myself a little envious, to tell the truth. But it matters not. Let us move on.
How did you become a shape changer?
I was not born such. 'Tis a skill of Flemeth's, taught over many years in the wilds. The Chastened have tales of we witches, saying that we assume the forms of creatures to watch them from hiding. When a child is alone and separate from his tribe, that is when we strike, dragging the young boy kicking and screaming to our lair to be devoured. A most amusing legend.
Your mother has been doing this a long time, then.
Changing her form, certainly. Devouring lost children, I cannot say. She has not done it in my experience, though in truth my lifespan is but a fraction of her own. Why do you ask? Is there something specific you wish to know?
Can anyone become a shape changer?
Anyone with sufficient will. But the act of transformation is a magical one. 'Tis a spell, and thus requires a mage's talents. Indeed, you could learn the spells required, if I cared to teach you.
Do you spend a lot of time as an animal?
There were nights when the wilds called to me, 'tis true. You look upon the world around you and you think you know it well. I have smelled it as a wolf, listened as a cat, prowled shadows that you never dreamed existed. But my life is as a human. I am under no illusions to the contrary.
You think you could turn into a crab? What do other animals think of you when you're changed?
They do not shy away from me. To their senses, I believe I seem like any other of their species. As to what they think, I truly cannot say. Just as I am still human, no matter my form, they are still animals. Thus they cannot speak, even were I to ask.
I've never heard of magic like that before.
No? 'Tis not unheard of in the remote corners of the world. There are traditions of magic outside of the circle of magi, despite what those mages would have you believe. Some of these traditions are old, indeed, passed down as carefully guarded lore from one generation to the next. The zealots of the chantry would uproot all such practitioners if they could, but as luck have it, some still exist. My mother is such a one.
If that's good, traditions like that need to be preserved.
I'm shocked that you think so, being a mage of the circle as you were. But perhaps you felt a little like a caged bird as well, caught within that dark tower.
Yes. Yeah.
I thought so.
Can you change into other human forms too?
The form of an animal is different from my own. One may study the creature, learn to move as it does, think as it does. In time, this allows one to become as it is. I gain nothing by studying another human. I already am the same as they are. I learn nothing. So the answer is no, my human form is the only one I possess. Indeed. Have you an opinion on my abilities, then? Am I an unnatural abomination to be put to the torch?
I think your abilities sound quite useful.
Oh, you're simply full of surprises, little man, aren't you? But enough of such talk. Let us proceed, lest the dust gather on us.
Ah, it's good to see you, my timely rescuer. Bodon Feddick, at your service, once again. I saw your camp and remember the kind offer that you made the last time we met. And is there anywhere safer for a poor merchant and his son to sleep? I think not. I'm perfectly willing to offer you a fine discount for the inconvenience of our presence. How does that sound? Good? Yes?
I am very happy to have a discount for any sort of goods. So you guys are free to stay. Just, make sure you don't go crash into anything.
Wonderful. Thank the gentleman, won't you, boy?
Thank you, sir.
We won't be a bother to you and your companions, I assure you. If you should need enchantments, simply talk to my boy. Otherwise, come speak with me.
I will see what you guys have on you.
I'm sure you'll be pleased with the goods.
Okay, shopping. Let's see. Do I have any sort of things that I need to buy? I'll sell these at the very least. I would like a bow, but you don't have any. What do you have? That is good for... That's good for... What's the word? That's good for... Jesus, why can't I think of it? It's good for mages. This will be good for Liliana in the future. +2 Constitution, I'll get that. I'll definitely get the Dwarven Merchant's Belt because that's going to increase the bread that I get, and that's necessary to have. Buy all the healing items, of course. Do I have anything that I can sell them? Mabari Crunch and Acidic Coating, perfect. We'll sell the Demonic Ichor, the Yellow Fruit, all of it. No one wants it. And we have all these gifts. Ooh, and the Fluorospar. Good. We have all these gifts that we need to give to everyone. And then we'll mess around with these runes in a moment. Oh, he's got a Grandmaster Slower. Yes, okay, I need a backpack. This is something I made a mistake of in the last recording because I didn't buy a backpack. That's going to increase our inventory slot. If you can see down there at the very bottom of the party inventory, there's a little sack. And then there's a bar that's partially filled up. It says 31 out of 80. That is how full our inventory is. And if I buy a backpack, you're going to see that the next line goes away. Now we have 90 slots. It doesn't operate on weight. It operates on just number of items you have. So it's kind of nice to have. And I know later in the game, if you don't stock up on backpacks, it's kind of a pain in the ass. Okay. Now let's start handing out gifts. Alistair, you can have the ale.
For me?
Sten, you can have the
Unexpected.
beef bone. Liliana, have the wine.
How
And the symbol of Andraste. Morrigan, you can have... What does this do? Battlefield Spirit maintains a chill even in direct sunlight, which it appears to absorb. Optimal serving is by the drop. Contact with exposed flesh is likely discouraged, but inevitable. Alright, well, we'll give this to her.
A fine gift.
Along with the
A
statuette
fine gift.
and the tribal necklace.
Interesting.
Silver bracelet.
Unexpected.
Have
Is that
Rope
for me?
necklace, another one
Oh,
as well.
thank you.
Beside this.
Interesting.
Perfect. Minor magic for Morgan, minor constitution for Alistair. Perfect. So now that's added attributes onto them.
See you later, stinky.